And finally for today, we're going to graph these linear functions that are given to us in slope-intercept form. And we're going to talk about how to find both the y-intercept and the x-intercepts. So what we are going to do first is we're going to draw our x and y axis. And I'm not going to give you coordinate grids for these. Okay. I'm going to expect you just to label the x and the y-intercepts. Well, first of all, on this one has a y-intercept of -1. So I'm going to go to -1 on the y-axis, which is about in that. Okay, so that's 0, -1. And then the slope is 2. So from this y-intercept, I'm going to go up 2 and over 1. And those are the 2 points that the line goes through. Now, you'll also notice that in the directions, I ask you to label all intercepts, which means the x-intercept also. So we're going to label this x-intercept right here. Well, that x-intercept, hopefully you can see that a point that is on that line, or the x-coordinate, sorry, not the x-coordinate, the y-coordinate of this point right here is 0, because all along this x-axis, the y-coordinate is always 0. So what we're going to do, after I erase that stray mark, is we're going to take this equation and plug 0 in for y, and solve that for x. Now, one overriding theme this year that you are going to hear a lot is whenever you want to find an intercept of the graph, let the other variable be 0. So for example, when we want to find this x-intercept, we're going to let y be 0. We're going to then solve it for x. To find any y-intercept, you're going to let x be 0. For example, in this equation, if we let x be 0, 2 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is -1. There's our y-intercept. So we are going to solve this equation now for x, and that'll give us the x-intercept of the graph. So the first thing we're going to do is add 1 to both sides. So we have 1 equals 2x, and then we're going to divide by 2. So x is equal to 1/2. So the x-coordinate of that x-intercept is 1/2, and that is a point 1/2, 0. So now we have labeled both the y-intercept and the x-intercept. And also in the directions you will notice that I ask you to give the domain and range. And remember, when we have a graph like this, the domain goes from left edge to right edge. Well, over here at the left edge of this graph is -infinity, and at the right edge is +infinity. And the range, remember, goes from bottom to top. So the bottom is at -infinity, the top is at +infinity, and that is the domain and range of that graph. Now moving on to the next one, y equals -3x plus 4, and once again we'll draw our x and y axis, and once again the y-intercept is given right there in the equation. It is the point 0, 4. And this time the slope is -3. So from this point we're going to go down 3 and over 1. So that is going to be another point that this line goes through. And once again, we just want to find that x-intercept. And again, to find the x-intercept, since we know the y-coordinate of that is 0, we're going to plug 0 in for y. So 0 is equal to -3x plus 4, and we're going to solve this for x by subtracting 4, so -4 is equal to negative 3x. And when we divide by negative 3, x is equal to positive 4/3, which makes sense because according to our graph, we should get a positive value for that x-intercept. So that is the point 4/3, and that is a 3 down there. And last but not least, the domain and range. The domain again goes from left to right, so at the left end of this graph is negative infinity, and the right end is positive infinity, and the range goes from bottom to top. At the bottom it is negative infinity, at the top positive infinity. So we've graphed it, labeled both the x and the y intercepts, and given the domain and range. And finally, the last graph. Once again, the y-intercept is right there. It's the point 0, negative 8. And we're going up 4 and over 1. And we just want to find that x-intercept. Once again, we're going to plug 0 in for y. And again, that's going to be an overriding theme this year. To find any intercept, you plug 0 in for the other variable. So to find a y-intercept, you plug 0 in for x. To find an x-intercept, you plug 0 in for y. So 0 is equal to 4x minus 8. We are going to solve for x by adding 8. And finally dividing by 4. So this x-intercept is the point 2, 0. And last, we're going to give the domain. And domain again goes from left to right. So at the left end, the domain is negative infinity to infinity, going from left to right. And the range goes from bottom to top. So the range, once again, negative infinity to positive infinity. So that is the background of slope-intercept form of the linear equations. Tomorrow we will talk about point-slope form of these linear functions.